Thank you.
Watching Jazz Gallery. We're going to let the players and the listeners take a little break, and we don't want you to go away because we're going to do a little table hopping, and I want you to come with me while we talk to some very interesting people, some people that had a lot to do with the growth of jazz and the establishment of the lab band program in the North Texas State University. The man that I am going to sit and talk with just for a few moments, this is Gene Hall. And Gene was there when it all got started. And you see joining us, Leon Breeden. Leon, we don't give you a chance to rest, do we?
That's all right.
That's the way it goes, though, when you're a popular, important man. First of all, I think maybe we better get to that important announcement. Gene, you've got something to tell everyone, or maybe we better go to let's go to Gene first. We go to Gene Hall first, and we're going to find out. What were things like when it all started back there? What was it, 1947?
1947.
That's right.
That's a long time back.
It certainly was. That's some 29 years.
I was very young when I started.
Oh, right. Of course, right. So we know that you're still a very young man. You are currently teaching at Stephen F. Austin.
Stephen F. Austin State University down in Nacogdoches.
Right. And something very important has happened to you this year, just like some important things have happened to the North Texas State 1 O'Clock Lab Band. Namely, they were nominated for a Grammy, and they're going to make an important announcement in just a moment. Gene, what's happened to you this year? You were nominated Professor of the Year, I think it was, right?
Well, as with Leon was nominated Outstanding Professor at North Texas State, and I was given the honor of being Distinguished Professor at Stephen F. Austin, which to me was a very unique thing, because Leon very well knows that jazz has not been considered too respectable as an academic field. Mm-hmm. And when a faculty, this was open vote of the faculty, will recognize work in two different universities as being, maybe we're respectable, Leon.
It's monumental. I think it's very important, really, to the ongoing of education.
I do too. I think it's
really feel so. Not for us personally. I think you agree with me. Our students have made us look good.
They sure.
Is that not?
Well, we've always heard that kind of modesty, but we know that it also took a lot of, I guess we could just say, plain old sheer guts, because back in those days, the very word jazz meant disrespect, loud noises coming from strange instruments and so forth.
We couldn't use the term jazz in those days.
That's right. That brings to mind the fact that you used the term stage band. And you were the first one to apply that term to the jazz band. Isn't that true?
Well, we borrowed the term from a band that was working on the campus at North Texas State. Floyd Graham started a stage band program every Saturday night in 1927, carried it through to 1961, and he called his band the stage band because it played programs from a stage. Well, when we started this jazz program, most of our programs emanated from the stage, so we just sort of borrowed the term. Mm-hmm. And then it spread and became a nationwide term. And the people in New York didn't like that because of the connotations of the stage in New York City. They wanted to call it a dance band up there, but there were more people that wanted to call it a stage band, so I guess we won out.
And whatever you call it, it's still good music and it's all good jazz, right?
Well,
it is. We've got some important things to say. Leon, I'm going to just turn it all over to you. I want you to tell our viewers what's going to happen on June 2nd.
We have the great honor of representing the United States. The State Department has called upon us to represent the United States in this bicentennial year, 25, the party of 25. We will go to Lisbon, to Oporto, to Almeida, Guimarães, in Portugal first. Then we go over to Russia. We will be going, playing in 5 cities, which the State Department is quite happy about because it's the first time a cultural group has ever had the honor of 5 cities. It's usually about 3. I would state emphatically that this is a great honor. With it comes great responsibility. We will be going strictly 100% as musicians, as artists. And we will hope, we know that we'll be under surveillance every time we take a breath. But we hope that we will be of such character and of such family togetherness and of such unity that the people over there will see in us what democracy really means. We're not going to sell anybody anything. We're going to play music and hope that people to people we can spread the good word about what has happened in America. And I personally, and I know Gene shares this, I think they're going to be amazed when they find out, if they give these university-age students a chance, Gene, what they can do.
Oh, it's
when they hear our kids do it, they're going to be astounded.
It's unbelievable.
Well, I hope that's what we're going to try to do.
We
This has to be a record year for you, really. Nominated for a Grammy, the first university lab band to be nominated.
3 years, I think.
on your laurels. I think you've earned it. You've deserved it. Deserved it. That's really fantastic. How many will be going with you on the tour?
Well, we have a party of 25, 20-piece band. Frank Lively will be going as administrative assistant. We have 2 stage personnel whose job will be to record, to set up stage, tear down stage, and all of it. You know, all the details behind the scenes. We're just, you know what was amazing? They called to give us the itinerary. We didn't know until about 2 days ago exactly what cities. Tbilisi, Yerevan, Baku, Leningrad, Moscow. On the 4th of July, we have a gala party and a reception at Leningrad, and then at Moscow on the 6th, I think. But the State Department said we had to turn down many, many cities that wanted you guys. They wanted the band over there.
You have a reputation in other countries, is what you're saying already. Is that right?
Yes.
Before going.
Yes, Willis Conover has been our friend. He's the voice of America, the jazz spokesman. Gene knows him very well, and he has played our recordings. Radio Free Europe has played our recordings. At our fall concert, unknown to anyone here, we were not permitted to tell anyone. We had a guest from the Kremlin in our audience in North Texas in the main auditorium, sitting in the midst of our audience, and a State Department representative who was the interpreter. This young man, I met him before the concert, at intermission, and after the concert. And after the concert, he rushed up and he was jabbering something to me, and the interpreter said, "Just a minute, slow down." He said, "He is saying that he's glad he sees that you Americans save the best for last." He said, "We've seen the Philadelphia Ballet, we've seen the Metropolitan Opera, we've seen Chicago," and he named 4 other groups, and he said he was just elated. He was very happy.
How does it make you feel, Gene, to know that you were there when it all started, and look what it's come to now? We're proud to have the North Texas Lab
This
Band.
vindicates my whole philosophy of life, and the caliber of the band today makes me look good. I mean, it keeps me alive. It's just tremendous.
You all just don't want to take any credit.
We're so proud of these students.
The kids are what make it, you know. And Leon is an administrator like you've never seen before. He takes care of things. He gets it done. He gets the job done.
Very good. We've got a lot of North Texas X's here tonight. People who have come through the lab band program, people who have made it on their own out there in the big bad world. I guess we can call it that from time to time. It sometimes seems that way, I think, for jazz musicians. What do you think is happening to the sound of jazz? We changed a lot in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years?
Gene,
Quite a bit.
well, from Gene's days, I know,
Sure.
that's awful to say, isn't it? My goodness.
But it has
You
to.
were a little ahead of me.
It has to, because the culture changes.
It is changing,
Sure.
and it should change. And if I were dedicated to the perpetuation of the music I grew up with, it would be Benny Goodman you'd hear tonight. That's
right.
all. When I used to come home with my Benny Goodman sing, 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 and
Sure.
don't be that way. And all,
Right.
and my father said, "Son, what is that stuff you're bringing home? How about Alexander's Ragtime Band? How about some of those good tunes? They don't write those anymore."
No,
So it's always
if
changing.
the band doesn't update it, except it'll be out of it. You may as well write it off. It
Well, I
has to
guess
play today's music. It
We're
has to.
talking about progress. That's what we're talking about.
And giving these young students a chance to say something. They've got it in them. They need to say it.
I don't want to hear them play sing, sing, sing. I don't know.
I got a surprise. You're going to hear us play
You
a
don't
melody
want
or
to
three.
hear them. I'm going to say you've got to keep everybody happy. And there's some people in the audience and at home that want to hear some of those good old time, good old greats, and we're going to make them happy too. In the second half, we'll also have vocalists coming on the second half of the show. So we want everyone to stay tuned and don't go away, because there's lots more to come. I'm going to take a little stroll now. I'm going to move a little bit further on, if it's all right with the powers that be. Thank you so much, Gene
Well, thank
Hall,
you.
for being with
Thank
us,
you.
and
It's my
thank you,
pleasure.
Leon, for taking time out of your break
We are honored to be here.
to talk with me.
Thank
Okay,
you.
fine. We're going to take you on over to another table, and we're going to talk to some very interesting people, some people that are doing it, I guess we could say. Yes, they're definitely doing it. The people that I'm going to talk with at this table, and I'll introduce the lady first. This is Miss Gloria Morgan. She is a jazz pianist, singer, and composer. And Thomas, who is also an excellent, excellent composer, arranger, trumpet player, how can I say it? He is Dr. Tom Wordle, for those of you who may have known him in his days back in North Texas, and we are pleased to have you. And they're smiling. Do you see the smile on their faces? Why are you smiling?
Oh, we just heard some real good music.
Very
by
definitely.
some very exciting people.
How does that make you feel to see what's going on with these students? You were once one of those folks up there on the stage, North Texas 1 o'clock lab bander.
I feel a little bit nostalgic, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think particularly this is, we say, well, we've probably been bicentennial to death, but all of this coming to the band this year, the Grammy Award, would you ever have imagined, Thomas, in your day, perhaps, and I say your day, that's not fair, but in your day, when you were back there, blowing your horn, could you ever have imagined that a college lab band would be nominated for a Grammy?
Yes.
You did imagine it.
Oh, yes. Yes. Certainly.
Had a lot more foresight than some other people.
Well, it's not really that unusual, because you have very creative people, and you have a university that is opening the door. And so, of course, things are going to happen. That's really all anyone needs is to have the door open. And things like what you all are doing tonight, that helps keep the door open.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Of course, we're glad to hear you say that. Gloria, how did you
I'm encouraged by the quality of musicianship in the younger people today. I'm very impressed with this band. I'm very impressed with the keyboard player, Jim Milne. I think he's a brilliant player, a very sensitive player. And I'm really knocked out. I think the younger players are just as into it, just as dedicated, and certainly the quality of their talent is the highest.
Those young looks are really very deceptive, because I think within those minds and those bodies beats the heart of just fantastically exciting musicians. And I think that you two, knowing the kind of music that you have brought to this area, would certainly be appreciative of what's going on up there.
I agree.
And speaking of this area, what is jazz doing in the Dallas area? A lot of times you hear people say, well, there's just no place to go listen to good jazz anymore. And I think that perhaps the places are hard to find, but I think that they're there.
I just did a talk to a guy the other night who listed a number of places. There are a number of places in Dallas that are featuring jazz. I think jazz is alive. I think there's always been someone that's come along and said that jazz is dying or jazz has gone. But jazz is America. It's American music. It's expressive music. And I think there's always going to be jazz, whether it's Dallas or anywhere. There's always going to be jazz music. There's always going to be jazz players. And there's always going to be jazz lovers.
Yeah,
Dallas and everywhere.
I sometimes feel like saying to people that say that they are jazz lovers, all right, if you really do love it, go out, find out where it's happening, and support it. If you really want to hear it, make the club owners where they're playing jazz know that you like this sort of thing, that you'd like to have this or that group back again, because I think sometimes we go with commercialism. I don't know, maybe I'm talking too much. What do you think? What's commercialism doing to jazz? Could we say that jazz is maybe the American classical music?
Well, that's really
That's a heavy question. I asked a lot of things all at once.
Well, I think it's very much a going concern right now. As far as commercial appeal, I understand that right now in New York City there is actually more jazz being played in the clubs than there was, for instance, in the 40s or in the heyday of the so-called jazz era. I believe that right now there is more activity. And so I don't know exactly what that's saying, but
when we use that term jazz, I guess sometimes people use like classical music, but we're talking about varying styles. This is not all one sound. We have the cool jazz sound and the East Coast sound and the West Coast sound, and of course
nowadays that's true.
well, we're living in a day where most of the jazz players have gone through some kind of college or university training, and you grow up not only listening to jazz, but also learning about Bartok, learning about Alban Berg, Schoenberg, Stravinsky, and it's very hard to keep these influences out of your music. And so, for instance, some of the things we heard tonight, are a mixture of almost everything, and so it's not just jazz anymore.
Yeah, I was very
widening out.
interested in your expression after the solo by Milne. And,
Fantastic.
yes, I've got to talk to that young man.
Yes, I do.
It's just absolutely
Yes.
fantastic. And we heard the influences of
Well, now
many composers in
That's
his,
an example,
his
yes.
solo. Yeah.
Obviously, he has heard most of the contemporary sounds around, and he's using all those
Right.
sounds, which
You
is
know
the
what's,
thing to do.
Interesting to me, I understand that in Germany that jazz never did witness or it didn't suffer the kind of lack or the slump that it did in this country. And since it is American music, it's very astounding to me that people stand in line to hear jazz concerts in Germany and some of the foreign European countries, whereas sometimes in America we're not really sure where we sit as far as that's concerned. Gloria, what's going to come up with you? Are you going to be writing anything new lately, or are you writing anything new lately?
I am writing constantly. I'm in the process of developing. Unfortunately, this business is something where you never become good enough so you don't have to try anymore. You constantly keep working at it. So I'm doing what I have to do. Writing, playing, practicing, learning, and growing.
Very good. Listen, it has been very interesting talking with you, and we've given our band, I think, enough time off. We've got to get back with them. They've got an exciting second half. They have a vocalist that's going to come to you. So please stay with us, and we're going to go back to Leon in just a few seconds. I think he's taking a last breath. He's up there wiping his brow, getting set for the second half. The second half, we will start back with something some of the old-timers will like.